Well, the pick rates have just dropped, and there are some shockers here buried within the stats, and not everything here is what you might think, so stay tuned to the end of this one. Plus, as we soldier on into our second week on Cyberstan, it's time to see where this one ranks in terms of carnage. In case you want to help support the channel, you know what to do. If you're on mobile, please swipe right to hype the video. And now, let's check out the latest inside Helldivers. I can't remember if it was earlier today or yesterday. Honestly, after being this long on Cyberstan, the days are starting to kind of all run together. Anyways, I read a comment from someone that said Cyberstan was red because of all the blood spilled there, which goes for both the Helldivers and the Automatons, due to the theory that they use our blood as hydraulic fluid and for cooling. Again, that's just the community theory, which I actually subscribe to. But as we're now deep into our second week on Cyberstan, the stats here are incredible. Now, just for comparison, take a look at some of these infamous planets and campaigns in Helldivers 2 history. Now, everyone knows of Malevelon Creek, right? Even if you weren't playing the game yet and joined after it all went down, you've at least heard of the Creek, aka Space Vietnam. After all the fighting and dying there, the Helldivers lost over 25 million brave souls. You will be remembered. Fast forwarding a bit, Craig Lee Thomas, known as the John Helldiver, took the stage at the Game Awards back in December 2024 to shadow drop the first battle of the Illuminate on Calypso, costing us nearly 39 million diver lives. Round 2 with the squid, this time on our home soil, pushed our friendly body counts up to 9 digits, running the total to 120.5 million, and one of the most epic campaigns this game has ever seen. September of 2025 rolls around and we see the Into the Untested update hit the game, pushing the Helldivers into their own in-game reenactment of what we saw from the Starship Troopers' initial assault on 𝗙𝗲𝗹𝗋𝗀. And as we dove deep into the gloom, we got to go head-to-head with the bugs on their home turf of 𝗚𝗀𝗆𝗀. We were not only fighting the bugs, but also the other bugs, and it cost us dearly, pushing our casualties to, at that time, record numbers, hitting nearly 271 million. Which of course brings us to the present, Cyberstan, and in just over a week on this one, we've already exceeded 170 million diver lives lost. And of course, the forces and reserve meter just keeps going down and down and down as we push to secure 𝗙cie and then eventually over to Transcendence. Right now, we've got over 60,000 divers there going toe-to-toe with the bots and the Borg and have secured nearly 86% of this mega factory. But I want to point out the interesting side story here is that we've actually got nearly 92,000 divers in or around Cyberstan, which means close to 32,000 divers are doing what exactly? I remember asking a question in one of my previous Helldivers videos if you as a player were one of those that would log on to Helldivers and basically just kind of chill out on your ship, using it as a social hub, and I was kind of shocked at how many viewers responded that they did in fact use their ships for just that. So I don't know what's exactly going on there, and I'd appreciate you incredible ladies and gents dropping a comment about what you're doing on your super destroyers, but that's nearly a third of those in or on Cyberstan who are not actually hitting 𝗙cie. Who knows though, maybe you're in orbit on your ships while checking out how Helldivers is doing right now on Steam. Snazzy transition there, right? And if that's the case, let me help you out so you can get back to diving. Again, these numbers are going to fluctuate as the nights go on, but we're currently looking at HD2 charting on Steam in 12th place for current active players, right behind Deadlock and just ahead of Rainbow Six Siege X. However, one number I always check in on is the top sellers charts, where we find Helldivers still holding strong in 11th place, despite it being, what, now over 2 weeks since the Siege Breakers war bond dropped and went live into the game. And since this top 100 is based on dollars generated, that's really impressive to see, especially, like I said, weeks after the paid war bond went live into the game. Fortunately for us, we've got some much more recent info that just dropped, and this comes to us via Helldive.live. Now, I've used and cited this site for several previous Helldivers videos, and I will, of course, include their links down in the video description and pinned comments so you can check it all out for yourselves. Essentially, what the site does is queue up into random lobbies and grab screenshots of everyone's loadouts, and then they chart that data so we can get an idea of who is choosing what weapons, armor, and stratagems based on level 7s up to level 10s. And they even break it down by faction. Well, like I said, their latest update just went live, which now includes the Machinery of Oppression update, and there's some really interesting picks on here for sure. Okay, let's just get right into it. And we've got a surprise #1 most picked primary to start this top 10 most picked primaries for the Automatons, and it's the Trident. Yeah, I've used it a few times now in Cyberstan, and it rips up the lower level chaff units, but with it being a LAP or light armor pen weapon, you have to hit those Devastator headshots to drop them quickly, and well, like I said, I'm actually kind of shocked by the Trident running away with a commanding lead at a pick rate of 16.4%. If you're maining the Trident right now on Cyberstan, definitely drop a comment because I'd love to hear from you. Just don't make it too much of a glowing report because Big Brother is watching and you know he loves those pick rates and spreadsheets. 2 ARs slotted in second and third with the former king of all factions, the 𝗙𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃, falling to second with a 9.8% pick rate, while the Lib Penetrator falls slightly behind in third. The first explosive weapon we see is the Scorcher in fourth, ever so slightly behind the Lib Pen, which for me is again another surprise because the game is clearly designed to favor explosive weapons as its meta, and the Scorcher is medium armor pen as well, so definitely interesting to see it only managing a fourth place here. The galaxy-destroying multi-tool known as the Eruptor comes in fifth with a 7.4% rate, while the new Redacted Regiment Sensor Marksman Rifle sits in sixth? Really? The Sensor, a LAP weapon. Okay, I guess I can understand players going for that silent but deadly approach while attempting to creep around the megacities, but I can't make it work all that well, but maybe that's because I trigger so much aggro it makes lining up clean headshot kills damn near impossible. One of my personal faves, the Punisher Plasma, slots in 7th. Again, for me that's a shocker because I thought for sure it would be in the top 5, especially versus the Automatons, but I guess it comes down to personal preference. Seriously though, all that stagger force, the explosive damage, and the medium armor pen make this thing a beast at slapping around the bots, but I do recognize it doesn't have the greatest single target killing potential. But seriously, don't sleep on this boomstick of a weapon. Another explosive weapon, the crossbow, comes in with just a 3.3% pick rate for 8th place. And I'm thinking range might be holding it back, or maybe rate of fire. Either way, if you can keep targets lined up, the crossbow should be doming bots and Borg. Liberty's shoulder-mounted cannon, aka the Double Freedom, finds itself in 9th place with a 2.8% pick rate. And yeah, that's probably the right place to find it. Don't get me wrong, the Double Freedom can deliver some serious firepower downrange, but with the mob densities we're seeing on Cyberstan, reloading after every trigger pull or after every 2 pulls can get a bit hectic. Still, that's an awesome piece of weaponry I need to use in my loadouts more often. And finally, we've got the Purifier, another explosive weapon with medium armor pen bringing up the caboose in the top 10, picked just 2.5% of dives. Based on this chart, do you see your go-to weapon for taking on the bots on Cyberstan? And if so, why do you turn to it when going into the fires of Mount Doom? Definitely drop a comment and let's see what everyone is thinking. Now, just so we can keep this thing kind of balanced, let's quickly take a look at the latest pick rates for the bugs. And not much has changed from the bots here. It's still Trident, 𝗙𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃, Lib Pen. You've also got the Eruptor and the Exploding Crossbow in there, but picks 6 through 9 are new, including the Ensign Breaker, the Natty Breaker, Base Liberator. Really? Okay. You've also got the Cookout here, which I fully understand for the stagger and fire versus the bugs, and the Scorcher shows up in 10th place. And our final stop for primaries are the Illuminate faction, and no surprises here with the top 4. You've got the Trident, 𝗙𝗀𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, Lib Pen, and Eruptor, but the Liberator jumps up to 5th versus this faction. I'm personally starting to warm up to the Adjudicator in 6th. The Little Seen Scythe is in 7th, and don't sleep on that one, divers, especially once fully upgraded with the industrial strength heatsink. It can deliver some serious damage. We find the Scorcher is in 8th, the Suppressor AR in 9th, and the 1-2 is in 10th. Really? Okay. I wasn't expecting to see those last 2 assault rifles bringing up the tail end for this one. And for anyone out there in that 3.1% that's using the 1-2 versus the squid, I've got a question. Is it really about the weapon's potential, or is it more about just thumping out those underbarrel grenade rounds? Let me know. Now, since we are currently blitzing Cyberstan versus the bots and Borg, let's limit armor passives and sidearms to just that single faction. And as we take a look at it, there's no surprises here, as Fortified is the clear winner for armor when taking on the kings of explosive damage. And from there, it's a pretty steady curve downwards of Siege Ready, awesome passive by the way, Medkit for obvious reasons, the OG plot armor built on space magic, Democracy Protects, Reduced Signature, again you stealthy assassins out there are making your setups work on Cyberstan, Engineering Kit for the obvious reason of extra throwables, extra padding, which I do love, and again don't sleep on that one, divers. Next up is, what? Supplementary Adrenaline? Huh? Maybe that's because it's new? Someone please explain that pick to me. And 9th is Ballistic Padding, which I have experimented with, especially to help with the bleed outs and explosive damage. And finally, in 10th, Unflinching. And before we finish this one up, let's take a quick quiz. What do you think is the #1 secondary weapon chosen by divers versus the bots and Borg? Okay, time's up. If you answered the ultimatum, congrats, you were spot on. And then we see, of course, the usual big iron suspects here, the Senator, the Talon, and wait a second, the Redeemer? How'd that happen? Okay, next is the Grenade Pistol, the Force of Law Warrant, the Peacemaker, the Verdict, the 𝗵𝗔cie SOCOM, which I've been adding more and more into my loadouts. And finally, kind of a niche pick here, the Re-Educator finds itself barely in the top 10, but it made it. I'm thinking that's for stunning things like hulks, so divers can reposition or make a quick escape. For a little bonus coverage here, what are Helldivers picking for their all-important stratagems while hitting Cyberstan? Well, another surprise here because I've never seen a pick rate this high. The orbital laser is close to a 50% pick rate. Holy hell. After that, everything else kind of pales in comparison, but you've got a decent rate here on the orbital Gatling barrage in 2nd place, which is key for precision bombardment as we try not to kill our fellow squad mates. The supply pack and Quasar are 3rd and 4th for obvious reasons. The good old 500 kg slots in 5th. Again, not in my loadouts on Cyberstan due to it hitting buildings and missing targets, but I do understand the attraction. The Leveler is in 6th, which is basically the shoulder-fired version of the 500 kg. Shield Gen Backpack is next. 120mm HE Barrage is in 8th. Again, I keep saying it, don't sleep on that one either, divers. Good firepower, fast cooldowns, and it's a more precision strike than versus the 9th place item here, the 380 HE Barrage. And bringing it up in the rear, in 10th place, is the reliable Rocket Sentry. Of course, you could see a fellow squad mate rocking a primary weapon not inside this top 10 from time to time, but some other notables here that we need to mention that are clearly not favored versus Cyberstan's enemies are things like basically all the Halo ODST weapons. Outside of the SOCOM pistol, these things are largely avoided, with the MA5C assault rifle leading this bunch at just a 1.2% pick rate. So basically 1 in every, 100 dives? You might see someone using the MA5C, once again providing clear evidence that it's time for Arrowhead to open up the weapon customization on these legendary Warbond items. Other notable bottom feeders here are the Slugger at 1%, the Jar 5 Dominator at 2%, and the Adjudicator at 2.3%. And yeah, it's no surprise, Mr. Irrelevant, the Sterilizer, comes in at just a 0.02% pick rate. Along with support stratagems like the Hover Pack for obvious reasons, FRV, Neat's Ballistic Shield, and the most picked vehicle is currently the Bastion tank, sitting at just a 4.2% pick rate, which is one of the 3 pain points I brought up in last night's video, where I touched on just how fragile the vehicles were, especially after durable damage versus our vehicles was buffed by over triple in Helldiver's last patch. Overall, there's some entrenched weapons and stratagems here on the list, and some outliers for sure, like the Redeemer, in 2nd place for the Automatons' most picked sidearms since the Machinery of Oppression update went live. But here's where I turn to you. You've already heard me interjecting some of my thoughts during this breakdown, and it's time for you to do the same. Where do you land on these pick rates? Are they accurate? And if you didn't see one of your go-tos, let us all know why we should be giving it another shot in our loadouts. While you're at it, remember to hit subscribe and to ring the notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. If you're on mobile, please take advantage of the swipe right to hype function. Thanks goes out to all of my hardcore channel supporters. You all are incredible, and I count on your patronage day in and day out. Until the next one, this is 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏